An earthquake has hit Los Angeles. The Soul Train dancers are leading a boycott. Don is a con. Um, Simone finds out the truth about JT, and Brienne meets a fellow soldier that definitely has some issues. Let's talk about it. Hey, what's up everybody? Welcome back to KRS TV. This is your boy Kenny, and this is American Soul Season 1, Episode 5, and the name of this episode is Fault Lines. I was so here for this episode, and this show gets better and better with every episode. I'm a huge fan of American Soul. I'm so excited to review this show here on YouTube. Like, you just have no idea. So, let me begin with this episode here. We get a flashback of Vietnam 3 months earlier, and we see the guy that got injured who Joe attended to in Vietnam. So then we see Simone goes to JT's house, see that the apartment's vacant, and they're putting up fresh paint, and they said that this place has been vacant for about 3 weeks. So Simone is like, where the hell is JT? So then we see that Don and Elsa, and I have to say, their chemistry is everything. So we see that Don has come up with the idea to do a bus tour and to promote Soul Train across the country, and he wants Motown to be the label that comes with them. And she was like, yeah, if we get 25% of the take, we there. And he was like, this ain't no negotiation, because I got 3 other labels who are willing to sign up with us. So we still see that this little cat and mouse thing they play with each other is getting more intense, because, as I said before, Elsa is the female version of Don. And I think Don is liking it because he sees himself in her. And she's just as hard as nails as he is. Then we see that Brienne is down, she's down at, I think, like social services, and she's, she wants her benefits check, but all they give her is Joe's, belongings that were left behind. And so, we're working on getting you your check. And she was like, oh, excuse me? My husband gave you 18 years of service, and he gave you his life, and you're telling me to wait on it? I'm like, this is the harsh reality that a lot of people who went to Vietnam face. Like, some of them couldn't get jobs or couldn't get benefits from the government. Like, they go to serve their country and they come back and they couldn't even put food on their table. And some of the families who lost loved ones, they weren't getting, the actual benefits that they needed to sustain their families. So she was just really pissed off. And then later on, we see that she goes home, she's reeling. And I have to say, Kelly Price, you are doing a phenomenal job in this role. I am so happy for her. She is really playing this role. And we're just seeing that she is still groveling the fact that she lost her partner, her best friend, the father of her children. And it's still fresh. And it's not only her, but we see the same thing with Simone as well as Kendall. They all are still reeling the loss of patriarch of their family. So she gets a knock on the door, and it's this guy named Nate. Nate was the guy that Joe saved in the war. He came there looking for Joe. She lets him in, and he was like, so when is Joe coming back? And she says he's not coming back. His compound was attacked the day that he had left, so he's not coming back at all. So he now knows that Joe's dead. And then all of a sudden we see something with the guy, and I'm like, oh my god, this dude got PTSD. And then at the same time, an earthquake happened. Because what's going on at the same time where the earthquake happened, where they were, was going on at Soul Train. Don gets out of his car to see all of the Soul Train gang. They're picketing and boycotting against Soul Train, saying Don is a con. We even saw earlier that Kendall and Flo were coming in, and I'm starting to see that there really is some chemistry there. And Flo right now is starting to come off as very genuine when it comes down to Kendall. She really does like him as a person, but definitely Kendall has grown a liking to her, and they're talking, going back and forth. They notice all the Soul Train dancers picketing, and she's like, wow, Fresh is really leading this thing. So we now know who's really behind it, because we saw Fresh posting the flyers all through Soul Train on the last episode, and he was leading the discussion saying that, look, we can't keep getting paid with fried chicken. So she pretty much tells Kendall, like, look, you can do what you want to do. I ain't getting involved. I'm just here to dance. So then he tries to get her to give his group's demo to Martha Reeves, because she's the guest on Soul Train. And she was like, oh no, you know Don will have your head if he found out. You on your own with that shit. Yeah, because she learned early on when she was trying to rub up on Rufus Thomas and he cracked her face in front of everybody. You don't want to fuck with Don like that. And let's just see that Kendall learns the same lesson this episode, and I'm gonna get to that. So also that at the same time that's going on, and Don shows up to see these guys, to see the Soul Train dancers boycotting the show. He sees the guy who's representing the Association of Arts and Sciences. He immediately punches the shit out this guy, because he knows damn well this dude is just there to shut him down and to cause dissension amongst our people. Like, he's representing the Soul Train dancers, saying that they want to be paid for what they bring to the show. But really, at the end of the day, you're just there to shut Don down and to like cause problems. And the Soul Train dancers are just so mad and irate, they don't even realize that this white guy representing them don't give a damn about them. But Don knows the truth. So we saw that happen. Then we also see inside, you know, Martha Reeves and the Vandellas are doing the taping, and then the earthquake happens and everything just goes haywire. And then also what's going on at the same time, we see that JT is working at Mom's soul food restaurant. He tells Mom that he has to go in the back, and Simone comes in and she sees JT going in the back, and she's calling JT's name, but he doesn't hear her. So she follows him in the back to see that he's giving water for his mother and his little sister so that they can bathe themselves, because she said that they can use the unit, you know, whenever they need it. But she already said that the mother, the mother can't live here, because the mother was stealing meat to get her fix. So finally, Simone sees the truth about JT's situation, and she sees what's going on, and they end up getting trapped because one of the electric lines falls and blocks the door, and because electricity was still running, no one could move the log until the professionals came to move it. So all this is going on. So then we also get a scene with Bruce and Don. Bruce is telling Don, and I like Bruce. Bruce is really sharp and he's good at what he does. He tells Don that in situations like this, you know, you need to have a backup plan. You know, some people prepare after something happens. I like to prepare ahead of time, and I want to let you know we got 3 generators here, so we can keep things running. Then Don was like, then why the hell are you still standing here? He just snapped his finger and everything came on. So Don was happy to know that, yeah, they can still do the taping and they're still on schedule. But we see throughout this episode there's a lot of problems that Don faces throughout this episode. So afterwards, we see that Don goes out to check on the Soul Train dancers to see if they're okay. The damn lawyer's like, what do you care? Don, there's a con. And then we see Fresh comes in the front. So we now know who's leading this shit. It's Fresh. And I'm like, wow. So Fresh has decided to lead this whole boycott against Soul Train because they're not getting paid. But it's like they're not seeing the bigger picture either, because one, they're young and their bellies are hungry and their pockets are empty. And when you in a situation like that, it's like pay me or get lost. So I understand both sides. I just think that the way that the Soul Train dancers are going about it is the wrong way. And we definitely see that in this episode. So then we see that they're stuck, that as far as JT and Simone, they're stuck. The mother is a junkie, and she's flipping the hell out. She's like, I can't be stuck in here, you know, like, da, 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 da. Like, she's just immediately starting to trip. And then she really explodes later. And at this moment, Simone kind of tells JT, tell me, now that you're stuck here with me, and there's nowhere you can run or hide, tell me exactly what happened. Why are you here? And he said that, look, we got evicted, and, you know, this is what it is right now. You know, this is my life. And she's now beginning to see the true reality that JT is living. Which is why I was saying, when Kendall be making them jabs, I'm like, Kendall, you gonna get your ass beat. You keep fucking with old boy, because old boy got it harder than the both of y'all. I mean, y'all just had something traumatic with the loss of your father, but he has been living trauma from day one, because he's literally the parent in that situation, because his mother is unstable. She can't take care of her. She can't take care of the kids, let alone herself. So we're seeing that this is actually drawing Simone and JT closer, and she's now seeing the reality that he's been hiding from her. So then we see that Don runs into this guy Jerry, who works on the show. He's having a heart attack. He's had 12 going on 13. So him and Bruce get the guy to the office, and they put ice on him, you know, to get his temperature to go down. And then, like, we also get word that mom is okay, you know, at the seafood restaurant. She lets them know that, look, you're going to be stuck in here for a few hours until the authorities come to remove this pole, because it's still live. You know, any one of us touch it, we'll get electrocuted. And then we also see in this scene that, you know, the mother is still kind of on edge, but she's kind of calmed a little bit. And we see that the baby's crying. Simone sings to the baby, and the baby just immediately calms down and goes to sleep. Like, she literally has a beautiful gift, you know, and she sings a song that her father taught her. So we're still seeing that Simone is still grieving the loss of her father too, and we see that all three of them are grieving in different ways: Kendall, Simone, and Brienne. So, but then we see that this is actually, as I said, bringing JT and Simone close together, and then we see JT's mom looking with you know, had this damn look on her face. I'm like, oh, this bitch gonna start some shit, because she now sees there's another woman that got JT's heart, and JT is the only one that she can depend on, and she gonna be a problem. I mean, she already a problem, but she gonna be even a bigger problem, because she now sees there's another woman that got JT's heart, and she sees that JT really cares for her. So I'm like, yeah, mama about to get jealous and shit. So then, Don gets word that Martha Reeves is spooked, and she don't want to do the show now. She in the green room, and she flipping out. Then we go to the green room. Kendall goes in there, and we come to find out that Martha Reeves is played by the awesome K. Michelle. I love her voice, love her as a talent. They picked the right person to play Martha Reeves, and it was everything. So he tries to give her his demo tape. The name of the group is Encore, and she was like, bruh, you gonna give me an audio tape like I can listen to it right now? Just show me what you got. So he performs for her. She's impressed, but she was like, what you don't do is approach a Grammy winner with your audition tape. And then he was kind of like, well, she's like, I'm just playing. I was nominated. And yes, Martha Reeves and the Vandellas was nominated for the song Love is Like a Heat Wave back in 1964. And also check out my show Tea and Scandals. I actually did an episode on Martha and the Vandellas. So yeah, check that out. It's my own show on YouTube. So pretty much, you know, she's dead set that she's not taping it or whatever. So once Don, you know, this is before Don gets there. So Don tells one of the guys that work there, who's another white guy, he tells him, act like you the fire marshal. So they go up in there, and the guy goes and checks the building, acting like, you know, he's a professional. He's saying that everything's up to par to try to ease Martha Reeves down, because Martha wasn't going to do the show, and they're trying to stay on schedule. And then all of a sudden, he sees that Kendall's there, and Kendall's kind of hiding a little bit, but then obviously he noticed that Kendall's there in the green room with Martha. So his wheels is turning like, okay, what the hell's going on here? So then all of a sudden Martha's like, look, I don't want to sink your boat. So I'm do it. I understand now that now that I know that everything's okay, I'll do the show. But then she mentions that, oh yes, and I had a good conversation with Kendall. He has a group called Encore, and your dancers are just so talented. And Don's like, yeah, they are. And I'm like, ooh, Kendall done got himself in the fire. I'm like, see, Flo knew not to play that game. Because as I said, when she was doing her thing with Rufus Thomas, he cracked her face in front of everybody and didn't even have to mention her name, but everybody knew who the hell he was talking about. So she knew not to play that with Don. And I don't think Kendall was on the set that day. So he learned today how Don really plays this, with no fraternizing with the guest. So he kind of gave Kendall that look like, okay, and then we just see Kendall like, like yeah, he done caught your ass. Because he thought that he was going to slip it to her and that Don wouldn't know about it. And we see that Brienne is there with the guy from Vietnam. His name is Nate. And, Joe saved his life. And she's worried about her kids. And he said that, I'm pretty sure they're fine. Kids are really strong. And then she says, so where are you from? He tells her that he's from Arizona. And she says, you came all the way from Arizona to come here? He was like, well, actually, he was actually going to be, I think, heading to D.C. and he was going to be awarded a Purple Heart. But then he was like, but I'm a common soldier. I don't need a Purple Heart, because you said that the Purple Heart, represents, royalty. And he was like, I ain't worthy to be having something that is bestowed upon royalty. I'm just a common soldier. And she's like, you're not a common soldier. You're a hero. And then all of a sudden we see that PTSD creep in again. And I'm like, Nate's going to be an issue. And he was like, none of us are heroes. I'm like, ooh. I'm like, yeah. Because a lot of this, there's been a lot of studies to show that a lot of people were affected, with the aftermath of Vietnam. Not only the families, but also the soldiers that came back. Some of them end up becoming drug addicts, and some of them end up committing suicide. There was a lot of reports of people who fell off the wagon after going through that hellish war. So then we also see that Tessa is trying to call her husband Patrick, and she's not able to reach him. So we see that Tessa, Bruce, and Don meet up, because outside, the Soul Train dancers are still picketing, and they said as long as the show is running, they're going to still boycott. So Tessa suggests that Don hear them out. And even Bruce agrees. He was like, look, it will save us a lot of money, because Don was saying that he was going to shoot the show anyway and just use old footage and kind of copy and paste. But he said that's going to be a lot of time, a lot of hours, and a lot of money to pull that off. So we see that he actually meets with the Soul Train dancers as well as their attorney, and the guy is a complete racist asshole. And as I mentioned, I think I did mention earlier, when Don got there and the dude told him who he was, he immediately punched the shit out of him. And in this meeting, he really showed his ass, because all of a sudden, he's saying that, look, we want my clients want to be paid for their work, a union scale. And then Kendall opened his mouth and was like, yeah, we can make more flipping burgers. I mean, it's a little pay, but it's something. And then and then Don was like, well, won't you and your damn group Encore go and flip some damn burgers then? I was like, I'm like, Kendall, you should have kept your fucking mouth shut, because you pulled a stunt on his platform, trying to shuffle your demo to Martha Reeves, and then you're going to talk about him and how he's running his business. Bad move, Kendall. Bad move. And I'm gonna get to that. So, and if anything, Don told the guy to deal, like, look, I understand that my dancers are upset, but I don't even know why the hell you here, because you don't know them and you're not you're not in a position to really speak for them. And then here go Fresh. Yes, he is, and he's here because we want him here. And last time I checked, we're the ones who working, creating a new dance craze. We made Soul Train, not you. And Don was about to get up and beat Fresh's ass, but they calmed him down. And I'm like, Fresh, you another one, another hothead who want to run your mouth, but you won't realize you're on a platform that he created. You wouldn't even be on Soul Train if it wasn't for Don Cornelius. But they're hotheads right now. They're young, they're hotheads, and they're not thinking clearly. And we obviously see that this white racist piece of shit is taking advantage of them. And Don sees it. And then he was saying that, Bandstand, pays their dancers. And he says Bandstand been on for 20 years. And there were no damn union people trying to stop him. I deserve the same damn courtesy. And, damn Fresh starts saying that, yeah, we need to get paid more than just 2 pieces and a biscuit. And then he says, well, maybe if you want 3 pieces, we can negotiate. I'm like, Don is just not here for the bullshit. And he pretty much says that, well, that's just it, because this is Picayune. And he was like, excuse me? He was like, yeah, Picayune. It's trivial. That's not what we're here to discuss. And I'm like, oh, you racist son of a bitch. That nigga I'm sorry, forgive me. That fool just punched your ass outside and you still gonna come for him? Like, you really trying to die, aren't you? And then Don punched his ass again. And they was like, damn. Like, damn, Don. I was like, wow. And then he gets up and is like, oh, that's a second time you assaulted me. You're going to jail. I'm like, oh, he going to jail, but you the one coming up in there using, racial undertones and shit, because he knew exactly what you meant. He knew exactly what you meant when you said that shit. This is Picayune, meaning we're coming for you because you're a black man who has his own platform, and I want to shut you down because we don't want to see any niggers running TV shows. That's what it really was. And Don saw it for what it was. And then afterwards, Bruce is like, remind me to never negotiate with you. I was like, I like Bruce. So then, after that goes down, we see that damn JT's mother is flipping the fuck out. She wants her fixed. She's going off. The baby's crying because she done woke up the damn baby because she banging and going crazy. And then she got a nerve to fucking start talking shit to JT like, you need to give me what I need. Who the hell you think you talking to, boy? I was the one who cared and raised your snot-nosed ass. And I'm like, when, bitch? When did you raise him? Because as far as we've seen, JT's been raising his damn self. You are not even in a position to care for anybody, let alone yourself, junky ass. And she's just going on her tirade and shit. And then like, Simone steps in and was like, look, everybody needs to calm down. We need to kind of have level heads here. She flips out on Simone's like, you need to shut up. This ain't your family. I'm like, oh, you're jealous, huh? Because you see that another woman has JT's heart. And we already gonna see that the mother gonna be a damn problem. So we see that, he tells her that, look, go over there and tend to the baby. I'm gonna take care of my mother. And don't watch what I'm about to do. So we see that he actually cooks up the heroin, gives her, measures the doses, and gives her a shot. And it calms her down. And then he pretty much tells her the story that, and we actually see that sometimes addictions are hereditary. Because his grandmother, had died from a heroin overdose when his mom was a little girl. And for her to not go through the same route, she wanted, JT to measure her heroin that she doesn't overdose. And he's been doing this since age 10. Now, how the hell you raise him and he's shooting you up with poison, bitch? Really? So I'm like, yeah, she definitely is one of those. One of those, because sometimes junkies will take you over a cliff. So, and then he says that when he was 15, he told her that, look, I'm not doing this anymore. If you want to shoot this poison up your arm, then you need to do it yourself. So he said the next day after he said that, he found his mother overdosed in the bathroom and she almost died, but she lived. And now he just measures her doses to make sure she doesn't take too much. And we see that he breaks down and Simone comforts him. So Simone is letting him know, I love you regardless. And we see that he's a good kid caught in a bad situation. And sadly, all this time he only had himself, to rely on. But now we see that he's got Ma, who's pretty much giving him at least a unit to use. And then he realized he also has Simone, and Simone was kind of letting him know, I'm not going nowhere. I got you. So then another thing that ends up happening is while back at Brienne's house, they hear a bang. There's some damn hoods like niggas. When something go down, niggas trying to steal. They up in her garage trying to steal some merchandise and everything. They knock her down, but Nate came up in there and beat some ass. So Nate has proven he's resourceful. So she's seeing that, and it's making her attracted to the fact that there's a man around. I don't think she's physically attracted to him or nothing like that, but the actual idea of a man being around to protect her and her kids, that immediately dawned on her, like, wow. So then we also back at Soul Train, Tessa and Don have a conversation. She was like, look, these are talented kids. You should, find a way to pay them. And he was like, okay, then won't you give up half of your salary and I'll match it? You need to know there's a difference between corporate and labor. Figure out which side you on. But then she was like, but did you have to hit the white guy? He was like, yes. I was like, and then she just looking like this fool. But I love the fact that him and Tessa, their relationship has gotten a lot better, and he has a lot more respect for her. And I was here for it. So we see later on that, Tessa is still, I think this whole situation has shaken her up, and she's now wanting to pursue her dancing. And here it is, she's in the dressing room doing some pirouettes, and then also there's a piece of something from the ceiling fell down right by her, and like if she was any closer, it could have fell and killed her. So I think that was a life shock, like, oh my God, what am I going to do with my life now? Because we definitely know she still has the desire to be a professional dancer. But then we also see that she goes to talks to Fresh, and she pretty much says that, look, you kids are talented, but I'm letting you know there are other kids in this city that can take your place in a minute. They will kill to be here. And she's like, well, do you want the best, or do you want to get dancers because they cheat? And she was like, look, dance today and I will make sure you get paid. But Don hears you, Don cares, but you don't do this right now because you could end up losing something that could be the best thing that could have happened to you. So she talked some sense to Fresh, and I think she was the one that smoothed them over. So then we see back at the show. We also see that later on, Tessa finally reaches her husband, Patrick, who's a detective. We also see that finally the pole gets removed, and JT breaks down the door, and Mom is there to embrace him, and he pretty much tells Simone that, look, you need to go home and talk to your mom. I think she's probably worried about you, and she's like, I'll call her, but I want to see where you live. So yeah, they're just using the unit. She told them they couldn't stay there because the mother then stole, so they're staying somewhere else. And then we see that, Don looks up the word picayune, which was, an insignificant person, somebody who's petty and worthless. So this is what he was throwing out to Don. So he was speaking a language that even the Soul Train dancers didn't understand. Probably Tessa knew what was going on, and Don knew what he was doing. Like, because I'm a black man with my own platform, you're using my people against me. And it was just blatant honest. He don't give a damn about those kids. It was about shutting down Don's show. So then we see that Bruce, Don, and Tessa come together. The guy Jerry's doing good, and the ambulance is on the way to pick him up. And then Tessa says that, yeah, and he's like, I see you got the dancers back. He's like, yeah, we're gonna pay them. And he's like, what the hell? And he was like, and then Bruce was like, nah. So we're seeing that Bruce and Tessa are working together too, because Bruce was also a part of this. It was Tessa's idea, but Bruce made it happen. He was like, no, it's not coming out of you, Don. A lot of the endorsements you're not going to be able to do on your own. So some of these commercials, we can get the Soul Train dancers to do them, and they'll be paid as actors. So he looks to Tessa's like, this is your idea, Tessa? She's like, yes, it is. And he says, it's a damn good idea. I'm like, that's what's up. Give Tessa her props, because it's well deserved. And then we see that Martha and the Vandellas are performing Dancing in the Street. I remember when they did that in that episode. I've definitely seen that episode on YouTube. You know, gives me life or whatever. And then afterwards, we see, you know, because Kendall was dancing as well. And then we saw that Flo was dancing with Fresh, because that's her partner. And then all of a sudden, we see that Flo and Kendall get together after the taping. You know, I think it was a pause before the scramble board. So it wasn't the end. It was in between takes. And then all of a sudden, this, you know, one of the guys who works behind the scenes gives him back his audition tape. And he was like, how'd you get this? He said that, well, Don found it in the green room and told me to trash it, but I just thought to give it back to you. And then all of a sudden, we just see that Kendall feels defeated. And I'm like, see, that was a lesson that Don was trying to teach you. You don't bite the hand that feeds you. I gave you a platform, and then you're going to speak against me about, well, people working flipping burgers make more than what we getting. Pick your battles, baby. Pick your battles. And we see that he feels defeated, and, we see that Flo encourages him. She's saying that, look, you're good. And no matter what nobody says, I know that you're great. And then he kisses her, and she was like, okay, I'm cool with you and all, but he's like, oh yeah, I'm sorry, I gotta. He felt hurt, and he really felt like, wow, I had an opportunity, and he probably realized that probably Don would have let this shit go, but because you opened your mouth and decided to talk cash shit in that meeting, Don was like, oh, you ain't gonna fucking promote off of my shit and you talking down to me. That's anybody's platform. Ask anybody who's established something. You're not gonna help the person who's down talking shit to you or talking about you. You're not giving them a leg up that you can come up off of my shit. So I got what that was, and I'm like, see, Kendall, if you kept your mouth shut, Martha could have probably kept your tape. But he got the tape because she left it in the green room, and she probably was going to take it with her back to Motown. And we know that Martha used to set up auditions for Motown, so she has experience in A&R. And Kendall probably knew this. But what you didn't know is that you don't bite the hand that feeds you. Don is giving you the platform. This was not the time to be talking shit after you done shipped it your demo to Martha Reeves, who was performing on Don's show. Not your show, Kendall. Don's. Just wanted to put that out there. Okay. So, but it was crazy. Then we see that after the show's done, we see that the ambulance comes to take Jerry. Jerry's good. And then we see that the lawyer had Don arrested because he beat his ass. And then like it was saying like, what, man? Man, he ain't even hit him that hard. I was rolling. I was like, that's a black people for you. Like, man, you acting like a bitch. He ain't even hit you that hard. You calling the police when you the one who started the bullshit because you knew you was being a racist pig, and Don knew exactly what you were saying, and Don was about that life. And as I said, you were a habitual line stepper talking that shit, and then you get mad that the black man puts his fist in your mouth. But Elsa bails him out, and she was like, well, I guess, this is a start of our evening. So he gonna hang out with her. So then we see that Nate and Brienne, he's been keeping her company, and you know, he wants to know like she wants to know where he's staying, and he's like, well, I really don't have anywhere to stay right now, but she says that like, okay, you can stay here for a few days or whatever. Kendall comes in, and Kendall meets him, and Kendall goes the fuck off. He was like, why are you letting this man stay here? Are you crazy? She's like, well, I'm okay with it. He's like, well, I'm not. Dad would not allow this. What are you doing? You know, Dad would not allow this. Like, why would you let a complete stranger stay in our home? You don't know anything about this guy. He's like, well, he served with your father. He's like, regardless of the fact, you don't know nothing about him. This is insane. Like, you can't do this. You know, Dad would not allow this. She said, well, your dad is not here, okay? Your dad's dead. All right? He's dead. He's not coming back. He's dead. And the last time I checked, he's not coming back. So I'll make the decision. I'm like, yeah, but it's a decision you might regret because Nate's a loose cannon. And then we also see that Simone and Ken, so JT takes Simone to where they're living at. You know, they had this little spot, you know, where we saw in the last episode, and he also has all the postings, you know, the flyers posted everywhere, and she has no idea that he was the driver in that situation. So he's actually a part of that whole thing that went down. And he was saying that, you know, it's just a reminder so that there's people out here who have it worse than me. I love JT's attitude. His attitude is very good, and I really admire JT. And we see that Simone and JT have a tender moment, and we see right then and there the damn mother is just looking. She's laying down, and she overhears everything, and you can just see her all getting bent out of shape. I'm like, you jealous. And she knows that if she were to lose JT, she really would be on her own, because JT's been carrying her ass for years. So then we also get a scene with Tessa and her husband Patrick. She gets home and she's saying, I'm running out of time. And he was like, well, we can try again to have another baby. She's like, no, I'm talking about being a dancer. You know, I still want to pursue dance. And he was not with this. So this is going to start causing some issues in their marriage. Because he was like, and she was like, but this is what I want. He's like, well, what about what I want? He wants a family. And she now wants to chase her dancing career. So we already see that that's going to be an issue. And then we also get a scene towards the end of the episode. Dolores, Don calls his wife Dolores in Chicago. They talk back and forth, and he says he's going to be home for Christmas and, you know, tell the boys I love them and all that. All at the same time, he up at his little apartment with Elsa. She wearing her little black lingerie. She done crawled up into the bed, and they getting it down, and they getting nasty. So I'm like, damn, you just got off the phone with your wife, and you're pretty much now pursuing Elsa. I mean, I already knew that there was chemistry there, but yeah, this is gonna be some issues for Don down the line, because, you know, Don previously had issues with infidelity, but now it's going to be even more rampant now because they're in separate states. She's still in Chicago and he's in Los Angeles. And then we get the end of the episode where Nate is dressed in his army uniform with a rifle, and he's saying that I will protect this family at all costs. And he does the salute, and I'm like, oh, this fool still think he in the damn war. This is going to be some crazy shit. So we just got to see what's going to happen next. But that's what I have, y'all. If I missed anything, put it down in the comments. I'd love to talk to you about it. But subscribe to my channel. Click that bell so you get notifications every time I drop a video. Also, follow me on all my social platforms. I have them all listed in the description box. Also, like this video, comment on this video, and share this video. And I'll be back with the next episode of American Soul. So until next time, everybody, take care.